ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, welcome to our art and music and cultural show. Glad you could join us, glad you're curious. I'll play you a little tune just to start with. It's a little song I wrote fairly recently, but I wanted to talk to you today a little bit about inspiration, about composing, about writing words or doing artwork. It's going to be a little bit about me, playing the violin, how I feel like playing the violin sometimes, and doing artwork or writing some words, maybe a script of some sort, a play. So I'll talk about my experiences, and it may be a little boring or egocentric, but it may awaken some memory in you or some thoughts, or a situation may arise in your life where this story may come in handy. But in particular, at one point, I've been practicing the violin on and off for years. I was a student of music, my family was involved in music, and I was rather pressured at times to practice every day and to have violin lessons. And I didn't feel like it, and I felt guilty about it. I felt bad because people always just said, oh, you're talented, or you should practice and practice and practice, and you never practice enough, or you don't practice correctly. And they were right. I mean, it was true to a certain degree. But the point is that I didn't always want to play. And when you're young, you're not always playing the music you want to play, and you're not, in certain ways, very mature culturally, and you're not really sure what music is out there. So you have to learn the basic simple music, scales and etudes, and sometimes certain concertos that you don't like. But that will pass. In the future, you'll play nice music. You'll play the music that you want to play. And that's where I am right now. And I'm very happy about that, because I can play music that I want to play. I don't have to please my teachers anymore. And my parents are no longer with me, which is a shame. But in this case, they're not telling me what to play. And, I can pick music that I love, that I remember from my childhood or from concerts I've heard, and it really is a very nice thing. So at one point in my life, I was somewhere in my probably late 20s or middle 20s, and I was traveling around, and I decided I really didn't want to associate myself with being a violinist. I didn't want to be a violinist, and I really wanted to quit the violin. And I wanted to see how I would be as a human, as a man on this planet, without the self-flattery of being a musician or a performer. So what did I do? I broke my violin and I broke my bow, and I threw the violin and bow into the bushes, and I stopped playing for a while. But I began to, at some point, miss it. I actually got a job in Paris at a farm outside of Paris, about a half an hour out of Paris, and I was working at an orphanage with horses and children. And they found out I could play the violin because there was an old violin somewhere in the closet, and I tuned it up and played a few tunes for them, and they liked it. And they were very excited about that. So the violin became a savior for me, sort of a tool. I made a little cash. I began playing music on the streets of Paris, and people gave me money. So that was okay with me. It was sort of a more realistic way to come back to music on my own terms. And I used it more as a tool, more as a way for survival. So it wasn't like I had this self-flattery that I was an artiste or I was a musician or violinist who went to Juilliard School of Music. No, I was just a person who had a certain ability to play the fiddle, and it made people happy. And because it made them happy, it was good for me, and sometimes they would pay me a little bit or hire me for something, or I could play on the street and make money. So the violin came back into my life, and I began learning how to play French music. Things like this. you have the, what's it called? La Violin Rose. Anyway, it's just an example of a little French chanson I learned in Paris, and I played it on the streets and in some restaurants, and I made some money. Minus one or two little wrong notes there you may have noticed. It was many years ago I played that tune. But I'm just saying that you need to bring the music eventually into your own terms. What music do you want to play? What makes you happy? What makes others happy? So to learn a few folk songs or some songs from different cultures is very helpful. I think it'll give you a better feeling of your identity with music. And since it is a universal language, it's good to learn different kinds of music. And if it won't hurt your technique, you don't need to play only classical music. You can learn a little bit of country music. Or Irish. So, something like that. And you can play this. As an example. So, I hope you've enjoyed today's show. I'm telling you to please seek different ways to find your inspiration. There are times when I've not felt like playing the violin, as you noticed. There are times I felt like not composing or writing words. And sometimes you just have to change what you're doing that day or that week. Relax your mind, relax your attention, your focus, and then something will come to you maybe half a day later or a day or two later. Sometimes you cannot force yourself to enjoy the music. Of course, you have to play if you have a concert scheduled, but that's tough luck. That's your profession, perhaps. You accept an engagement, you accept a date to play, you have to play whether you feel like it or not. And sometimes I've not felt like it, but I've had to deliver some kind of a performance, okay? But in general, don't panic if you have a writer's block or composer's block or musician's block. I think it's best if you can take a day or two off and it'll come back to you, the enjoyment of music. Anyway, hope you gleaned something out of this little lecture today, and I appreciate your watching, and I wish you all the best.